Good evening, Britannia, and hello to the rest of the world. Welcome to 2CTV, the home of geopolitical news from all around the world. On this show, we're going to be talking about Germany, mostly speaking Europe in general, Western Europe, and the crisis of migrant and foreign criminals. Obviously, the waves of attacks are escalating, and that includes, of course, Islamist terrorism, as well as a lot of sexual assaults and a number of other crimes that is still going up in Sweden, in Germany, in the United Kingdom, and across the Western European countries in general. But today we're going to be talking about Germany because a number of trials are starting in courts across the country. And this relates to all the crimes that have happened over the last few months, over the last year or so. We're going to be focusing on one of them here because it's important for people to know what you're dealing with, considering even if you're watching this from Germany, you might not be fully aware of the extent because the media, even in Germany, are not actually reporting on everything in terms of the regional and local issues. This is about Munich. Some of you might have already be familiar with this crime that happened at at one of the subway stations in Munich. This was absolutely brutal. Now we are having the actual trial in court. The Afghan migrant targeted a young man, obviously sexual assault to rape him, but also torture him for almost 40 minutes until finally the authorities decided to take action. The investigation continued. They caught him. He's now going to be in trouble, but the media continue to say this is just an isolated incident. Let's go through the information, do a review of this story, because the trial is now happening. And of course, also, it is important to mention that in the United Kingdom, we continue to have victims and survivors of grooming gangs and the so-called isolated ones. Slowly, they're coming out to speak out. And this has been happening over the last couple of years because of social media and new media. They are feeling slightly more confident to come out to expose these things. So, this is about the so-called refugee from Afghanistan. A 21-year-old man from Afghanistan is said to have committed a serious, exceptionally brutal sexual offense at a subway station in Munich. According to the prosecutor's office, the violent crime was already committed on the 19th of August 2023. This Friday, the criminal trial against the alleged perpetrator begins at the Munich Regional Court. This is today, saying that raping crime unit with theft in a particularly serious case. The issue we have here is that when this person committed the crime, this vile creature, he was 20. The issue with the age is this. Since the alleged rapist was 20 years old at the time of the crime, he is considered an adolescent according to the prosecution and therefore probably falls under the generally more lenient juvenile criminal law. If you think things are bad in the United Kingdom with the justice system, look at the situation in Germany, ladies and gentlemen. Lenient, because he was 20. 20 is a grown-up adult. What is going on? Now, obviously, yeah, he's going to get a slap on the wrist. Well, not necessarily, but metaphorically. And I don't really think there's going to be any deterrent. Because we know certain cultures, and I always say not all cultures are equal. It's a very controversial statement, apparently, but it is true. And a lot of cultures are not compatible with each other. Which means, it's same in the UK with the grooming gangs, primarily obviously South Asian and Pakistani ones. There is no deterrence when it comes to the rule of law, when it comes to punishment, because they already know the laws that exist. You know, as a normal human being, if you assault somebody, you will get, and if you get caught, you will be in trouble. So you think by default that should be a deterrent. Yeah, for normal people, yeah. Not for these people. They don't care. Their brain works differently. If it does. So that's the problem here. Also, there's a video that's come out again. This is from a while ago. Deep Blue Crypto posted this. Unfortunately, I don't know the name of this young lady. If anybody knows in the live chat, let me know. This is about this person. I think, again, to connected to what's happening in Germany now and all the trials that are starting because of the cases escalating over the last few months. Massive amount of cases right now. Munich, Cologne, Berlin, and other places. The reason I'm going to show you this, again, if you know the name of this person, let me know in the live chat. Her story. I'm just going to let you watch it. Then we're going to react to it because it's just become, let's just say, normalized and casual. Everyday problem. Watch this.
As I'm crossing the road, this guy's approached me in broken English saying, I can't tell what he's saying, but he's saying something about a lighter. And I've gone, oh, I don't smoke, sorry. And just tried to scurry off. But the next thing I know, he's grabbed me from behind. Somewhere in the process, it's a bit of a blur because it's just, I have blocked it out. Anyway, another guy's come and they've now dragging me over the road. But because they're dragging me over the road, I'm thinking, oh, they're taking me back to the party. It's a prank, it's a prank, it's a prank. But no, it wasn't a prank. They didn't take me back to the party. They took me in another set of bed sits. They dragged me up the stairs, took me to a room, small room where there was like a bed and a stereo and a wardrobe. And by this point, there's like more guys have come in. 2 of them have held me down. And they've all just took it in turns to do what they've done. I thought, I'm not going to get out of it. I'm just thinking, think of your ex-boyfriend, not the one I'm going to talk about, but a different one. And I'm just thinking, just think of that. So I'm thinking of that. And I'm like, I'm not going to get out of here alive. Anyway, they've let me get dressed. He's grabbing me by the collar and he's marching me down the stairs. By this point, I'm just wailing, like sobbing. A guy from the bedsits opened the door, and I thought, shit, if I knew he was here, I would have screamed. But I was in so much shock, because people said after, why didn't you scream? But unless you've been in that situation, you can't judge somebody. He's pushed me out the door. This boy has said, what's going on? And they've gone, nothing, mate, and shooed him in the door. And like so many of them and only one of him. Anyway, they've let me out and I'm just relieved at this point. I'm like, I don't even care. As long as I'm out, I'm out. So as I'm walking home, and I'm just running to my mum's at this point, even though it's further away, but I thought I tried to go to my nan's and it weren't successful, so I'm going to just go back to my mum's. And then I hear this car just revving up, vroom, vroom, and it's him again, like the main guy. And he's going, get in, just get in. And I'm like, oh my God. So by this time I thought you're going to have to scream. So I'm just screaming, running down the street, just screaming and screaming and screaming. Anyway, I've managed to get home and I've just got in the shower. I've just stripped off, got in the shower and just showering myself. But I left my clothes. I didn't wash them or anything. I just left them in a heap on the floor. And I just thought, just go to bed, just forget about it. Anyway, I've seen like my little mum, who was the only person in my life. And she just said to me, you know yourself, Gemma, what's wrong? Because I'm usually bubbly no matter what. And I said, I've been SA'd. And she goes, by who? And I've said a lot of people, and she said, ew, like, are you sure? My mum, but you have to ask, you do. And I said, I know I'm a tearaway team mum, but yeah. And she goes, right, that's it. She got the police. Police come out, they interviewed me and scrutinised everything I was saying. They went over it like 1 or 2 times, then a 3rd time, and then they went to where it happened and they'd fled the scene. So they're right there, that's proof, that's proof. It turned into a major case and there wasn't social media and all that in them days. It was Crime Watch. So it was all over Crime Watch, and then they finally got these guys. They were scattered all around London. They'd gone all to different places. They managed to get them all, or at least some of them. There was a letter in the car of one of the guys writing to his dad in his country of origin saying...
So we were talking about being in like an environment of drug users and feeling safe, and then, this happened. This wasn't involved with the circle he was bothering?
No, this wasn't involved in any circle.
So where were these people? These were not from the UK? No,
they weren't from the UK, unfortunately. They were from the Middle East.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I showed that is... so this person, fortunately, obviously, the case was out publicly. She got access to do an interview on a podcast. Without these people, certain individuals, and without these type of podcasts and social media platforms, a lot of people would not know. Because the corporate media, they're not going to show you this. They're not going to interview her or someone like that. Other people are still voiceless in the UK, in Germany, in Sweden. And they also are afraid if they complain, what could be the consequence, the backlash. But somebody has to be their voice. And of course, on this channel, we'll try our best on a regular basis. Earlier today, I spoke with Sammy Woodhouse. Some of you are familiar with Sammy Woodhouse. She does a great job, obviously, to expose these things as an activist and as a reporter. She does, obviously, documentaries and everything else. And she has a very specific background as well when it comes to these sort of crimes. I'm going to try and get her to come on the channel as well to discuss her work. And people like Sammy would know more about these sort of, again, so-called isolated stories and incidents that are not fully reported. But obviously with the platform that we have on TCTV, I think it's important to give a voice to some of these people. If the authorities are not there to do their job, if the media are not there, the mainstream media are not there to report the truth, if the political establishment are not there to respond to their local constituents when they go to them, people will get frustrated. Now you wonder why there's been a rise of the populist conservative parties all around the Western Europe, from the Netherlands and Germany and France to the UK, of course. Why do you think that is? The fascinating part is that the so-called centre-right establishment parties are still not getting it. Whether it's the Republicans in France, whether it's CDU, if you can still call them centre-right these days, in Germany, whether it's the Conservative Party in Britain. They still have not understood why this is happening. Heads buried in the sand. Let's get some reaction from you guys. We have a first super chat from BG, thank you, saying please think of the cats. My cat Henry is having big time anxiety. Do not eat the cats, guys. Stop eating cats. It's such a messed up scandal right now going on as well. By 20, I completed college, I had a full-time job and I was living in my flat. This refers to, of course, the story that we said about the Afghan migrant in Germany with that brutal attack. He's now 21, but when he did it a few months ago, he did it when he was 20. And that means that he's not going to get proper punishment according to the German law. They can destroy our men by war and brutalizing them, and destroy our kids and women by the same, but also by sowing their seeds. They have a higher breeding rate than natives, so will overrun us. The Bell says Germany has become so desperate that even bridges collapsed. The Karola Bridge in Dresden suddenly collapsed a few days ago. Germany, there has been a couple of other stories from Cologne and other areas in Germany that seems like everything is falling apart, which is really concerning in terms of security for certain areas as well as infrastructure. Germany was always known to be very strong and stable. Not really sure what's going on with the establishment there, but we'll continue to report these things. Texas Patriot says there was an illegal migrant in California who was caught on video eating a leg he took from a pedestrian who was hit and killed. But this is insane. The thing is, I'm not surprised. It's shocking, but it's not surprising. I've seen so many videos, similar type of disgusting content on social media. And of course, recently, more stuff is coming out about the Haitian migrants as well in the US. But before that, you've already had these sort of things anyway. Disgusting. Also, by the way, just a heads up, I no longer do my own moderation on the chat. So we actually have a moderator who's helping us with the live chat. So that's really good. Nicholas says, it's citizen journalists keeping us all informed. The mainstream media don't do F all. Again, one person come to mind, Sammy Woodhouse. Big shout out. Silent Auditor says British women show real strength, highlighting these atrocities. There's I know that there are a number of community groups have been created in Rochdale, in Rotherham and elsewhere. But again, the problem with this is that the media aside, you need political parties and politicians and political activists to support them, and none of them are doing it. And I'm including every single one of them, from the Tories to Reform to I don't know, SDP and all the others, they're not getting in touch with any of these groups. There are these groups. There are small community groups, and the victims and survivors all getting together in different parts. And some of them obviously are still scared to even come out. It's obviously a lot of them have PTSD and everything else. But those who are doing something, they're not getting any support from any of these so-called elected politicians. And it's time for people to call them out as well. If they claim to care about the country, they must do something about it. I do know that, for example, Sarah Champion, as a Labour politician, she did an okay job in terms of calling this out. But she was one person in the Labour Party, for example, doing it because she actually cared. As a local representative, she cared enough for the standards of a Labour politician. So, but it's not widespread, let's just say. Let's get more reaction from the live chat as well. Rara says, I wonder how many other cases that we don't know about. But this is the key point. So, for example, what we are reporting on this show, which is about the recent cases in Germany, obviously the latest one in Munich, which is now the trial starting, is that even in the UK, I've said this many times, even today, we have over 1,000 suspects and those who've been accused. Now, of course, there are different versions. You know, a lot of people get accused of something, but overall, there are over 1,000 cases that are still in the backlog. They're not even being addressed by the authorities, and that is the biggest problem because apparently we are under-resourced, but we're still bringing in more people into the country. Even the public resources are at this max capacity, whether it's the prison system, whether it's the hospitals, whether it's the schools, whether it's the policing. The whole thing is falling apart, but it's okay. Because Keir Starmer says, don't worry guys, the GDP will go up a little bit. Yeah, how did that go? And last month we had 0%. Blind Girl says, Sarah Champion is incompetent. I've got an email from her that proves it. But again, let's not forget she's still a mainstream politician. So incompetence comes hand in hand. So it's just that the reason you have to mention her is because everybody else, I mean, there are one or two more, but most MPs are completely silent on it. That someone like Sarah Champion would stand out does not mean that she's the best in this situation. It simply means that everybody else is worse than her. There's a very interesting question, which is actually very fair. Paul McDonald says, where is the outcry from the Muslim community? Yeah, those who continue to say, don't be mean to us, we are not all the same, don't put us in the same category. It's time for them to come out and speak out and join, obviously, the Germans and the Brits and everywhere else that they are, to fight against the same thing. If they claim that they're not the same, they have to do it. They have to join. And this doesn't really help the situation anyway, because all we are getting is that the liberal left-wingers are telling all these Islamic communities and everybody else that everybody hates you, so you don't need to come out. So it's also the fault of the political left who are not really encouraging them. So they put them in categories. It's all about identity politics. And they always say, even centre-right parties, even like the Tories or CDU or whatever, even they are racist and they hate you. So they tell someone who's just culturally Muslim or whatever, and they could be more westernized or whatever, they just tell them there's no need to integrate because you can't integrate, you will never be accepted. So basically all you have to do is just stay oppressed and oppress your own wife and your own daughter. But it's okay, we'll give you benefits as long as you vote for our parties. That's what the left does. They want to keep them down. They want to keep them poor. They want to keep them, obviously, isolated and not really fully integrated as citizens. The same thing they've been doing for decades and decades before when it came to the working classes. And they didn't want them to come up. They hated that. They're like, well, if people start becoming rich, then we're going to lose our voting base. And they have to have something to save you from. That's what they cause trouble for. That is the whole point of the political left. John Webb says, live in Leeds when Tommy went to court Rotherham. Right. Jenny says, honest, you are 100% correct. The Christian Prince, talk about it. Okay. Malcolm says the Islamic community speak up now and condemn this. If so, why not? Yep. Harold makes a good point. Germany invited them in, so deal with it. But it wasn't necessarily all the German people. It wasn't necessarily the girls who are being targeted now who invited them. It was their politicians and their governments. That is a key difference. It's the same problem that we have, for example, when a government in a country does something bad, people from the outside will just say, hello, all of France, or all of Iran, or all of South Korea, whatever. You wanted this. You were fine with this. You wanted open borders. No, that's not how it works. Because you have to look at each country's electoral system and how much support the party in government received. Not every single person approves of what Macron is doing. Not all French people are left-wing, liberal, degenerate idiots. Go and speak to some of the good French people. Go and speak to some of the good German people, Korean people, everybody else. There is a key point about making sure you differentiate between the political establishment in each country and the actual tribe, which is the nation. Now, there are some countries, whether they've been brainwashed or not, they are essentially condoning the behavior of their political establishment. And that, yes, in that respect, you can say you asked for it because you're not doing anything to oppose and challenge your political leaders. That is the key point. If you work proactively, it's the same right now in America. If you just say, well, because Joe Biden is there, it's the fault of Americans. All Americans are like Joe Biden because he's president. Not really. Because Americans are now working hard to ensure that Trump wins again. Now, if they let him win, that's a whole different point. Not sure what's going to happen now. Enoch says, my girlfriend in 1997 was gang raped by 2 members of the Religion of Peace on her birthday here in Israel, just hours after she committed to me. Vile. And that's Israel. Of course, because obviously you've got Christians and Jews and Muslims, everybody live in Israel. But it happens. It happens everywhere. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to give you guys this quick update. Just a quick heads up. If you want to support the channel and get access to our premium shows and documentaries and everything else, make sure to join 2CTV Plus. Go on 2ctvplus.tv. You also get the ability to chat with me and like-minded people. Thank you so much for all the support. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.